aspirants, welcome back to this series of learning ancient Indian history. Today we are going to study one of the world's earliest and most remarkable urban civilization referred to as Indus Valley Civilization. So let us proceed ahead with the today's session. So first of all, we are going to understand the journey of the discovery of the Indus Valley Civilization. All right. Now, the discovery of this civilization was spearheaded during the times of modern Indian period. Okay, so the period of modern Indian history. During this time, India was under the advent of, or India was ruled by the Britishers. So during this time frame, the notion spread by the Britishers was that India literally had no past. They were of the opinion Indians were illiterate, uncivilized, uncultured people. And they spread the theory of white man's burden. That is, white people are here in India to civilize them, to bring them into proper mannerism, and to make them cultured, to make them civilized, to make them literate. So that theory was spread by the Britishers in order to justify their rule. And according to Britishers, Indian past began from the point of the advent of Aryans. So theory was popularized by Mortimer Wheeler that the theory was of Aryan invasion. People from Central Asia invaded India, and that gave birth to the onset of the Aryan period, which is also referred to as the Vedic age. So according to the Britishers, Indian past or Indian history began from around 1500 BC. The period is associated with the period of Aryan invasion. So, according to the British historians and the British rulers, Indians had no past prior to 1500 BC. Indian history began from around this time frame. All right, and directly it began with the Vedic civilization. And also, they wanted to say that since Aryans were the foreigners, they were the people of the Central Asia, so they came over here, they introduced this culture to the original inhabitants of this land, Indians. Okay, so that was the theory spread by the Britishers or the British historians. Now let us try to understand how this mystery of Indus Valley civilization was unfolded. Okay, so it happened so in 1829. Okay, Charles Mason, he was a British officer. He visited to the site of Harappa. But at that point of time, he saw over there the hints of certain ancient civilization. But he thought that this is probably an ancient fortress, an ancient fort. Okay, so the first person to visit to the site was Charles Mason, who referred to the site of Harappa as an ancient fortress. Okay, then in 1856. British engineers they began to lay railway line in the Punjab area. While laying a railway line, they encountered a site where they got in hundreds and lakhs of burnt bricks. And the bricks were completely standardized. Okay, they were of a very good quality. So they were of a good quality. Most importantly, they were standardized. Standardized, there is a ratio of that bricks was uniform across that lakhs of bricks. Okay, and these bricks were of a very good material, robust. Okay, so these engineers, without even thinking who kept that bricks over here, they just thought that this is a ready-made brick. So for us, let us use it for laying the railway lines, for laying the for construction of the railway platform and all. Okay, and without even thinking, all these engineers, especially John William Brunton, he used this ancient bricks for the construction of the railway platforms and the laying of the railway lines. Okay, then it happened so in 1875. Alexander Cunningham, he was the first archaeological surveyor of India, and he was the director of Archaeological Survey of India. He found some important seals. Okay, seals, we will understand them about in the upcoming slides in detail. So got some symbols, he got some seals, and then he realized that this hints towards something very important, something which is very ancient. Okay, finally the excavation was spearheaded by an Indian archaeologist in 1921. An Indian archaeologist, Dayaram Sahani, he did a major excavation in the site which is presently known as Harappa. After doing the major excavation, he was the first one to reveal that this is indeed an ancient Indian civilization. And since that site, which at where the excavation was done, was named as Harappa, the civilization came to be known as the Harappan Civilization. Usually in archaeology, the site which is first discovered, after that site only, we name that civilization. So since Harappa was the first site to be discovered, hence the civilization got its name, Harappan Civilization. Okay. And please remember, the person who discovered the site of Harappa was an Indian archaeologist, Dayaram Sahani. So in 1921, this became world popular that in India there has been a discovery of an ancient civilization. And further, they began to study it more and more. The radiocarbon dating of this civilization was done, and hence it was revealed that the remains, the civilization belongs, it dates to up to 2600 BCE. So can you imagine? Britishers were saying that Indians have no past beyond 1500 BC. They began to say that the Indian history begins from 1500 BC, and now literally we pushed it back. We pushed it back to 2600 BC, and that hinted that at that point of time an urban, a literate civilization existed in India. So that was indeed a biggest discovery of the time, and that made Indians realize that the theory spread by the Britishers of white man's superiority is absolutely false. We indeed had a glorious past. We indeed were urban, literate, cultured, well civilized people. The myth that these people are spreading, it's just a myth, it is not the reality. And that even boosted the spirit of nationalism, the spirit of patriotism, and gave a boost to the Indian freedom struggle. Okay, so this is a very important discovery, a landmark discovery with respect to the history of India. Now let us come to the next site. Okay, now there was a Buddhist monk had been to the Sindh province, and in that Sindh province he encountered a mound, like a shape hill. Okay, so like that, a big mound was there. Okay, and that Buddhist monk, he met an Indian archaeologist, Rakhal Das Banerjee, who is referred to as R.D. Banerjee. So that Buddhist monk requested R.D. Banerjee that will you come with me? Will you accompany me to the Sindh province? And I want you to do your excavation, because I think that probably this mound is an ancient Buddhist stupa. Okay, we'll be studying about the Buddhist stupas and all. So Rakhal Das Banerjee definitely was an archaeologist, and he accompanied Buddhist monk, and he said that fine, I'll accompany you and we'll do over your excavations. So Rakhal Das Banerjee and his team went to that Sindh province. They began their excavations. And after doing that excavation, they revealed that this mound was a mound of skeletons. All right. So it was a big mound. It was like a hill of a mud. And beneath that hill, beneath that mound, there were too many skeletons. And finally, that mound was named as Mound of Dead. Mound of Dead. And in Sindhi language, this was translated into Mohenjo-daro. So I hope now we all are clear with the site which I'm referring to. It is a site of Mohenjo-daro. Okay. So finally, the very next year in 1922, R.D. Banerjee, Rakhal Das Banerjee discovered the second important site associated with the Harappan civilization, and that is Mohenjo-daro. As I've mentioned that Mohenjo-daro in the Sindhi language literally means what? Mound of the Dead. And you know the reason why it is called as the Mound of the Dead? Because of the too many skeletons discovered over here. Okay. And how it was confirmed that this is the site belonging to the Harappan civilization. After doing the excavation, after studying the pattern in the Harappa and the pattern in the Mohenjo-daro, it was revealed that there are similarities. There's a uniformity with both the two sites. Okay, similarities with respect to the town planning, with the remains, pottery, seals, with the bricks, the standardized bricks, with the weights. So all this hints towards a uniformity pattern, and that hinted that indeed both the sites belong to one civilization. And since this civilization flourished across the banks of river Indus and its tributaries, the civilization is also referred to as Indus Valley Civilization. Okay, so let us now move ahead and understand the further journey. I'll clear the screen. Yes. Now, the next important step was taken by Sir John Marshall. So in 1924, Sir John Marshall, he was then the Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. He finally made a declaration. The declaration that was that indeed a new civilization has been discovered in India, and this civilization is an urban, literate, civilized, cultured, well planned civilization. And that was and headlines in the London news. Okay. So can you imagine India was ruled by Britishers, and Britishers are publishing the news declaring that indeed India had a glorious past. So it was a very proud moment for all the Indians. Okay. And finally, Sir Mortimer Wheeler, he was the one who did all the stratigraphic excavation. And finally, the date of this civilization was revealed as 2600 BCE. I hope it is pretty clear. Okay. So this is the timeline, the journey of the Harappan civilization. Once again, let's have a quick recap. So the first person to visit the site was Charles Mason, a British officer, but he mistook the site as the site of an ancient fortress. Then in 1856, British engineers were laying the railway line in the Punjab province. They used all the bricks from there, but did not use their brain, that this probably hinted towards an ancient site. All right. Finally, in 1875, Alexander Cunningham discovered certain seals, and he realized the importance of the seals. And probably he was the one who figured out probably this is the site of an ancient civilization. The further boost was given by the Indian archaeologist Dayaram Sahana in 1922 discovered the very first site of the civilization, after which the civilization got its name Harappa. The second important site discovered was by Rakaldas Banerjee in 1922, Mohenjo-daro. And finally, Sir John Marshall, the then Director General of Archaeological Survey of India, made a worldwide announcement of a discovery of an ancient urban civilization in India. And Mortimer Wheeler, he did the final dating of this civilization. Okay, I hope it is pretty clear now. Now, what is the geographical spread and of this civilization? So, the civilization is located in the northwest part of India, and also it covers the present day Pakistan area as well. Okay, so the Punjab area, the Sindh province of Pakistan are those areas which are covered under this civilization. You can see over from the map. Okay, so this entire area of northwest India and the part of Pakistan is the area of this civilization. Okay. The next important thing which you need to remember over here is that this civilization, it spans roughly 1.5 million square kilometer, and up till now more than 1,000 sites, cities associated with this civilization have been discovered. Okay. And impact, what was the impact of this discovery? So the most important impact was rewriting of Indian history. So Indian civilization was literally pushed back to 1500 years. Okay, that is from 1500 BC. It was now said that Indian history begins from around 2600, and actually 2600 is the beginning of the mature phase of Harappa. If you go to the early phase of Harappa, it is around 3300 BCE. So Indian history dated back. Okay, that was a very important understanding. The second important impact was indeed the revelation of urban civilization. Okay, not only this, it was also revealed that the people had contacts with the people of other civilizations as well. And most important, the script which hinted towards that it was indeed an urban civilization. So I hope it is very clear. The first part with respect to the discovery of the Harappan civilization is pretty clear. Okay. Now we'll proceed ahead. So I have already mentioned that the Harappan civilization is referred to as the Indus Valley Civilization. Why it is called as the Indus Valley Civilization? Because it mainly flourished on the banks of river Indus and its tributaries. Tributaries Jhelum, Chena, Pravi, Bias, and Satluj. Okay, so it covered that area. It is one of the earliest urban civilizations of the world. Rather, in South Asia, it is the first urban civilization. So Harappan civilization is the first urban civilization of South Asia and one of the earliest urban civilizations of this entire world. Okay, flourished in the northwest part of the Indian subcontinent. When I'm saying Indian subcontinent, here we are referring to both the areas of India and Pakistan. And it is named after Harappa, the first site it was discovered. Okay, now one thing I would like to say that Harappan civilization is a Bronze Age civilization. Okay, so we all know that we studied the Chalcolithic period. Chalcolithic was the beginning of the Copper Stone Age. Copper was the first metal to be used by man. Okay, now we are studying IVC in the timeline. Okay, so now here man was using an alloy. Bronze is an alloy of copper plus tin. So this is Cu, copper plus tin, and little bit of zinc. Okay, so it's a alloy. It's a mixture of two important metals. It's copper and tin, and in certain proportion you are even adding zinc. Okay, so bronze. It's a Bronze Age civilization, and the contemporaries of Harappas were Mesopotamian civilization, which flourished in the Iraq, present day Iraq, Iran area on the banks of river Euphrates and Tigris. Then Chinese civilization, which flourished on the banks of river Huanghe. Then you have Egyptian civilization, which flourished on the banks of river Nile. And so these four civilizations are considered to be contemporaries of each other. That is, they existed in the same time frame, okay? And they are referred to as Bronze Age civilization. So please remember this from the preliminary perspective that Indus Valley Civilization is a Bronze Age civilization. That is, it marks the beginning of Bronze Age in India. Getting it? Now, when I talk about the chronology of this civilization, so let us have a look at the chronological phases of the Indus Valley Civilization. So, the first phase is the early phase, okay? So, early phase, can you see over here? 3300 BCE to up to 2600 BC. So, this is the earliest phase, okay? The earliest phase refers to the phase where the foundation of the Indus Valley Civilization was laid down. This phase is known as the phase of regionalization era. Regionalization era refers to here that is from the Neolithic age, slowly and gradually, the people in that area began towards the foundation of Indus Valley civilization. Okay, so in the early phase, it was not an urban phase. So definitely, if you want to embark upon the journey of urbanization, the first phase is what? You will be laying the foundation. First of all, you will be practicing agriculture, farming, animal husbandry, establishing villages, earliest village communities. Then, slowly and gradually, those villages will be converted into towns. And then, finally, the towns will be converted into cities, right? The urban cities. So initial phase is the rural phase, okay? So hence the earliest phase of the Harappan civilization is referred to as the phase of regionalization era. And this began from around 3300 BC and it continued to up to 2600 BC. So this is the earliest phase. It's a rural phase where they were practicing agriculture, domestication of animals, establishing the village communities, doing the early trade in the barter form, okay? And the significant sites are Amri and Kot Diji. Both of them are located in the present day Pakistan, okay? Now we are referring towards the urban phase. So this is the first phase of Harappan civilization, which we do not usually study because this is not associated with the urban aspects, okay? And this is considered to be a rudimentary phase, okay? The second phase is the mature phase. This is actually the urban phase, which we refer to in our studies, okay? And this is also called as the phase of integration. So this is an integration era, and this is marked by the emergence of the big towns like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Kalibangan, Rakhi Garib, Dholavira, okay? And this phase features the advanced features of the Harappan civilization, that is city planning, uniform level of town planning, standardized systems with respect to weights and measures, extensive trade network with the distant civilization. All these are the characteristic features of the mature phase of the Harappan civilization. And final phase is referred to as the late Harappan phase. The late Harappan phase is also referred to as the period of localization era. Now, in this phase, we see to it that slowly and gradually the civilization was on the verge of its decline, okay? So slowly and gradually the urban centers were abandoned, okay? And the cities were abandoned. And once again, there was shift towards smaller regional local culture settlements. Okay, so that is the last phase of the Harappan civilization. So from the timeline, what do we understand? There are three important phases of the Harappan civilization. First is the earliest phase, which began from around 3300 BC, continued to up to 2600 BC. That is the earliest phase associated with the rural traits referred to as regionalization era. The second phase is the mature phase, which is a concern for us because the majority of the questions and our syllabus is associated with this mature phase, which is the urban phase. And this flourish, so this timeline is very important, the timeline given by Mortimer Wheeler for the urban phase. Okay, 2600 BC to up to 1900 BCE. And then from the 1900 BCE onwards, the civilization was on the verge of its decline. Slowly and gradually, the urban traits vanished away and they moved towards the rural settlements. Okay, so that is the late Harappan phase. So, Indus Valley Civilization, literally, it's a remarkable example of human ingenuity, urban planning, cultural sophistication, and do remember it's a Bronze Age civilization. Okay, so now we have studied all the important aspects of the chronology. So now today we are going to mainly focus on the important sites of the Harappan civilization. Okay, so let us begin with the geographical extent of this civilization. By the geographical extent, I mean what are its northern, southern, eastern, and western frontiers. Okay, so can you see over here? The map highlights the frontiers. Okay, so the northernmost site is this one. This is the site of Manda. Do remember this. The northernmost site is located in Kashmir, in the present day Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So this marks the northernmost frontier or the extent of the Harappan civilization. Okay, when I come to southern part, in the southern you have the site Daimabad. Daimabad is located in present-day state of Maharashtra, and this is the southernmost extent of the Harappan civilization. Okay. Then going towards the eastern part, in east we have the easternmost site as Alamgirpur, located in the present-day state of Uttar Pradesh. And in the west, we have a site across Pakistan-Iran border in the Baluchistan province of Pakistan. The name of the site is Sutka Gendor. So please remember all these four sites because these sites mark the extent of the Harappan civilization. So I hope it is pretty clear. So in the north, we have Manda. In the south, we have Daimabad. In the east, we have Alamgirpur. And in the west, we have Sutka Gendor. Okay. And if you look at this entire area, now this area mainly covers the Indus Valley, Indus River, and the tributaries of Indus. Most importantly, this entire area covers approximately 12.9 lakh square kilometers. It's a huge area of 12 lakh square kilometer. Okay, and since it also covered the part of river Saraswati, so Saraswati, the river does not exist today, but a fragment of Saraswati exists today, which is referred to as the Ghaggar Hakra River. So, since this civilization flourished even in the Ghaggar Hakra River Valley, which is considered to be a fragment of Saraswati River, this civilization is also referred to as Indus Saraswati culture. Fine. I hope it is pretty clear. And what is the difference between a culture and a civilization? So, if you remember, we studied Chalcolithic. Chalcolithic is referred to as a culture. But for Harappa, we use the word civilization. The difference is that Chalcolithic cultures were fragmented. One was in the Ganeshwar area, one was Ahar, one was Malwa, one was Kayatha, one was Chorwe, and all had a different timeline. Okay. The second important thing, the features varied across those cultures. The pottery, especially the pottery, the design, the colors used to make the pottery varied across all those Chalcolithic cultures. Only one thing which was prominent among them, one or rather two things. The first thing was that they extensively used copper and stone. And second important thing was that they did not have any script. And yet another important thing, they were illiterate. So these were the common traits of the Chalcolithic cultures. But otherwise, the cultures varied as per the region and they flourished in the different time zone. However, when I talk about the Indus Valley civilization, The entire civilization flourished in the same, all the sites flourished in the same time zone. Most important thing, all the sites had similar traits. It is probably said that all the sites were well planned and then they were established or they were formed. Okay, the urban planning I'm talking about. Okay, so that refers to an advancement. So culture, if you go beyond culture, the advanced level of a culture where you find the uniform traits, that is referred to as civilization. So hence Indus Valley we refer to as a civilization because across the sites you find uniformity, and hence it's a civilization, a broader expression of a culture. Okay, now let us move ahead and let us study important sites. So this is a map depicting the important sites with respect to the Harappan civilization. So these are the mature sites of the Harappan civilization belonging to the mature phase. Okay, so let us first of all locate them. So can you see over here the northernmost site? I'll just highlight it. Just a second. Yeah. Yes. So the northernmost site is Manda in the state, in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Earlier it was a state. Yeah. Can you see over here all the tributaries of river Indus? Jhelum is there, Chenab is there, Ravi is there. Okay. Satluj is there. So all these are the tributaries of Indus, and here is the final Indus. Okay. Now, when I talk about the site of Harappa, can you see over here Harappa? Yes. Harappa is located on the left banks of river Ravi. So do remember this, okay? Harappa on the left bank of river Ravi. Mohenjo-daro, yes, can you remember this? Mound of the Dead, Mohenjo-daro, Sindh province of Pakistan. Yeah, and Harappa is located in the Punjab province of Pakistan, okay? Mohenjo-daro in the Sindh province of Pakistan. And Mohenjo-daro is located on the right banks of river Indus. Harappa on the left bank of river Ravi, and Mohenjo-daro directly on the right banks of river Indus, okay? So these are the important two sites. Then coming to the state of Haryana. In Haryana, there are three important sites. First is Rakhi Garhi. Discovery of the Rakhi Garhi and the study of the Rakhi Garhi reveals that this is one of the largest Harappan settlement site. And to be precise, within India, this is the largest Harappan site, okay? Because Harappa and Mohenjo-daro are in Pakistan. So when I talk about India, this is the largest site, okay? Then you have Banavli. Banavli, again, a very important site in Haryana. Mithathal, again in Haryana. So please remember, in Haryana, we have three sites, Rakhi Garhi, Banavali, and Mithathal. Okay. Then when I come to the state of Rajasthan, so in Rajasthan, we have a very important site, Kalibangan. Okay. Then coming towards Pakistan area, we have Ganeri Wala, we have Kot Diji. If you remember Kot Diji, I referred towards in the early phase. So that is that Kot Diji. We have Amri, we have Balakot, we have Kanhudaro, also pronounced at Chanhudaro. This is very important site. It was a bead making factory. Okay, so remember this Chanhudaro or Kanhudaro. Right. Then coming towards Gujarat, in Gujarat we have Dholavira. We all know that Dholavira is a UNESCO's World Heritage Site. Okay, then Nageshwar is there, a coastal town. Can you see over here? We have Rangpur and we have Lothal. Lothal is a very important site located on the Bhugawa River, and Lothal is site which is known for the ancient dockyard. Okay, so these are the important sites associated with the Harappan civilization. So apart from the extent, in the extent we studied the important sites like the Manda, Daimabad, Alamgirpur, and Sutka Gendur. Apart from that, these are the significant sites associated with the Indus Valley civilization. I'll clear the screen so that it would be visible. Manda, can you see in the state, in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir? Then Harappa on the left banks of River Ravi, Mohenjo-daro on the right banks of Indus. Can you see over here? There is Amri, there is Balakot, Kot Diji, Kanhudaro, Ganeriwala, okay, Dholavira in Gujarat, Lothal, then Rangapur, Nageshwar, and here the sites are Rakhi Garhi, Banavli, Mithathal, and Kalibangan in Rajasthan. Okay, so just have a look at this this slide and the map because this is very important. Okay, now let us try to understand the significance of the major sites of this Indus Valley civilization. Okay, so now we are going to understand the important sites and its discoveries. Okay, so first site is the Harappa, where it is located in the Punjab province of Pakistan. Please remember, located on the left bank of River Ravi. Okay, left bank of River Ravi. Who discovered it? Dayaram Sahani. Dayaram Sahani, an Indian archaeologist, discovered it in 1921. First archaeological site of the Indus Valley Civilization to be discovered, and hence the civilization is named after it. Now, the important findings of the Harappa that we are going to discover now, okay? And definitely in the upcoming session, we are going to discover all these findings in detail. So, first of all, so this image depicts the ruins of Harappa. So, this is the ancient site of Harappa, the ruins of Harappa. The second image, can you see over here? This is a great granary. Now, what is a granary? Granary is basically a warehouse, or you can refer to it as a godown where you are storing the food grains. Why do we store the food grains? For the emergency purpose, okay, for the few from the future perspective, for the emergency purpose, you are storing the food grains, okay. Whenever there is a surplus, you store them. So this also hints that Harappan civilization produced surplus, extra. They did not practice agriculture just for subsistence. What do you mean by subsistence? Just for your family needs. Whenever you are practicing agriculture for your family needs, you are practicing a subsistence type of an agriculture. But when you are producing surplus, you want to trade it, okay, you want to exchange it. It's like an your you are doing it for your livelihood, okay. So during that point of time, Harappan civilization mastered over the technique of agriculture, cultivation of crops, and hence they were able to produce surplus, and that surplus was stored into this granaries, okay. The next important thing is a male torso. A male torso made up of red sandstone is a characteristic art feature of the Harappan site. Okay, so please remember this. And finally, dice. You know, dice. We play Ludo, fine, snake and ladder game. So the dice has been discovered from the Harappan civilization, hinting towards their leisure activities, towards their entertainment activities. Okay. Apart from that, even the images of Mother Goddess have been discovered from Harappa. Okay. So remember these few important discoveries. We are going to discuss each one of them in detail. Okay. The next important site is the site of Mohenjo-daro, located in the Sindh province of Pakistan on the right banks of River Indus. Do remember this, okay? Who discovered this? Rakhal Das Banerjee, referred to as R.D. Banerjee in 1922. Literally, it means what? Mound of the Dead. Okay, Mound of the Dead, and has mentioned the how it was discovered. Fine. Then, what are the important findings from Mohenjo-daro? So, first of all, can you see over here? This are the ruins. So, this is a mound-like shape over here. Okay, so that refers to the mound of the dead. Okay, then the next important thing is the Great Bath. The Great Bath is a very significant architectural marvel feature of the Indus Valley Civilization discovered from the site of Mohenjo-daro. We are going to discuss this in detail, okay? And this was probably associated with the ritualistic bathing, okay? Then the next important thing, even the granary was discovered in Mohenjo-daro. But the granary which we are referring in the Harappa is a peculiar one because it was the biggest granary, referred to as the Great Granary. Okay, and this is just a granary. So granary, it was discovered in many sites. Okay, then the masterpiece of Harappan art is dancing girl made up of bronze. Okay, by the way, this was a preliminary question in 2025 in UPSC preliminary examination. The question was that the dancing girl was made up of which of the following metals, and they had given many options. So definitely the answer is bronze. Okay, so remember this. Then you had seal of Pashupati Mahadev, which indicates the earliest worship of Lord Shiva in the form of Pashupati Nath. Okay, we will be discussing this seal in detail. And finally, there was a discovery of a bearded man. Okay, so man with a beard. This man was made up of a stone referred to as steatite. Okay, so steatite was a stone used to make this bearded man. And this bearded man is considered to be a yogi. He's considered to be a priest. Okay, so these are the important findings, discoveries from the site of Mohenjo-daro. So, Great Bath, Granary, Bronze Dancing Girl, Seal of Pashupati Mahadeva, and finally bearded man. Okay, then we are coming towards the third site. The third site is the site of Kalibangan, located in the present day state of Rajasthan. Okay, and this site flourished on the banks of Bhaggar River. Bhaggar Hakra, as I have mentioned, that it is a fragment, a channel of the lost river Saraswati. So Saraswati was an ancient Indian river which is no longer in existence. But yes, with the satellite findings, with the archaeological discoveries, with the geological studies, it is revealed that the river indeed existed. They have discovered the channel of that river, okay? And the remaining fragment of this river is the Ghaggar River, on the banks of which Kalibangan flourished, okay? Now, Kalibangan is a very important site. Why? Now, first of all, why it is known as Kalibangan? It is known as Kalibangan because of the black bangles discovered from this site, okay? Kali means black, Bangan means bangles. So, unique black bangles are the peculiar characteristics of this site, okay? The next important site is the next important discovery is evidence of plowed field. So when archaeologists were excavating this site, they came across an area which was a plowed field. Plowed field in the sense there were proper furrows, okay, which hints towards earliest technique of plowing the field and then sowing the seeds. Okay, so this is a very important hint towards the mastery over the technique of agriculture, and indeed because of which they were able to produce surplus food grains. Okay, then, even fire altars have been discovered from the site of Kalibangan. Okay, fire altars, we are not very much sure about what is the significance of this, but yes, fire altars were discovered from the site of Kalibangan. Okay. Now, why I'm using the words may, might, we are not sure. The reason is that the script of this civilization is not yet deciphered. They were literate people, but the issue is that we are not able to understand their writings. And as a result, whatever source of information we have about this civilization is purely from the basis of archaeology. Also, we have information from the distant civilizations. Since they were in contact with the Harappan civilization, but the primary source to study this civilization is the archaeological findings. Okay, and see, archaeological findings are prone to the opinion and interpretations of the archaeologists. One archaeologist may say that this fire altars would have been used for big yajnas. Some other would have said that no, probably this do not hint towards a yajna. This refers to the some they might be used for a community kitchen. They might be used for cooking for the community. So different personalities may have different opinions. Okay, so hence whenever we are writing the answers with respect to Indus Valley Civilization, do not give your opinion. Always use the words may, might, and according to the historians, according to the archaeologists. Okay, the reason is that whatever knowledge we have about this civilization is from the opinions of the historians and the archaeologists. Okay, let's move ahead with the next site. The next site is the site of Lothal. Lothal, it flourished in the present day state of Gujarat. Lothal was located on the banks of river Bhogava near Gulf of Khambat or the Gulf of Cambay. Okay, the Lothal is very unique. Why it is very unique? Because this site has yielded the earliest dockyard of our country. Okay, and this dockyard was made up of burnt bricks, and this dockyard confirms that Harappans were in contact with the people of distant civilization, and hence they were doing trade, they were involved in the maritime activities. So that is the significance of Lothal. Okay, so please remember this. Lothal is very significant because it is known for the discovery of dockyard. Apart from that, many significant findings have been revealed from the site of Lothal. Okay, so what are the different findings we find from the site of the Lothal? Now, it was situated near the areas where raw materials such as precious and the semi-precious stones were easily available. Lothal was located near the Gulf of Khambat, right? So many types of stones, precious, semi-precious stones, shells, beads. Beads were definitely made from the shells, but these shells and all were readily available. Okay, and this hence Lothal emerged as a very important center for making objects out of this precious and the semi-precious stones, shells, and metals. Okay, so archaeologists have revealed that there was a big storehouse. Can you see over here the finding? So there was a big storehouse over here, and from the storehouse they have discovered many beads and semi-precious stones. Okay, they have even discovered the tools which are required to make the beads, and also there are samples of finished bits. Not only this, from this particular site many seals and sealings have been discovered. Okay, now what are seals? Seals are basically, it is usually used as a marker for the trade. Okay, like for example, I want to pack a bag of food grains, and I want to ensure that this is not tampered. So what I'll do, I'll put a clay mark, and on that clay mark, I'll put a clay, and on the clay, I will put a stamp, a logo. So that impression of that stamp will come on that clay and it will become like a logo. And I'm exporting it. Now, if it will reach to the another counterpart. So if that seal is opened, it will be the meaning that the product is tampered. Okay. So that was the significance of the seal at that point of time. So this site is very significant, the site of Lothal. Okay. So Lothal is known for dockyard and it is known for the discovery of all these artifacts. Okay. So it was really a very important trade center. Okay. Then the next important site is the site of Sarkotada. Sarkotada is a very unique site from the state of Gujarat, and this is the only site where the archaeologists have discovered horses' bones. Okay, no other site across the Indus civilization has yielded bones of horses. This is the only site. Please remember this. And this was the UPSC PYQ. Hence, I'm emphasizing this. Okay. So, this is the only site which has yielded the remains of horse bones. Okay. So, remember this. Evidences of the horse bones we get from the site of Sarkotada. Okay. Finally, the next important site is Banavali. Banavali is located in Haryana. This site is known for the terracotta model of plow. Okay, so terracotta. So basically, you are using mud, you are adding a lot of binding materials into that, you are adding like for example, you are adding vegetable oils, animal fat, and you are making a very robust you can say that clay like material, and out of that you are making the artifacts. Okay, so from the terracotta they made a plow, and this was a toy model of a plow, but that hints that actually the bigger plow might have existed, and the bigger plow which they actually used for the plowing purpose was made up of wood. And since it was probably it was made up of wood, and hence it does not exist today, because it might have got rotten. Okay, so as a result, it is being revealed that this toy model hints towards the bigger model of a plow. So you need to remember this. Also, bullock cart models were discovered from Banavli, but the significant model which you need to remember is the terracotta model of a plow, and this was the UPSC PYQ. Okay, so these are the important findings from the important sites which we have. The next important site is the site of Dholavira from the state of Gujarat. Now, this site is a very important site because it is the fourth site of the Indus Valley Civilization to get the tag of UNESCO's World Heritage Site. Okay, so please remember this, the first site. So, this can be a preliminary question. So, remember this, the first site of the IVC to get the tag of UNESCO is Dholavira. Okay, so Dholavira, it was located on the Khadir Bait, also pronounced as Bait. Okay, in the run of Kutch. And here there was a mixture of fresh water and the fertile soil. Okay. Now, when you look at the other Harappan sites, okay, so every Harappan site had two parts. One was citadel, that was on a higher platform. So, higher town, it was called as higher town, which is referred to as citadel. And then the next part is called as the lower town, which was at the lower level. So, citadel was at the upper level and lower town was at the lower level. And this was the structure across the Harappan sites. In Dholavira, there was a unique characteristic. The unique characteristic is that instead of this two divisions, they had three divisions. Okay, so this is the only site. So this is an exception. This is the only site which had three divisions. The three divisions were there. Citadel, citadel, as I refer to it as an higher town. Then there was a middle town, and then there was a lower town. Okay, if you look at the other sites, you get only citadel and the lower town. The characteristic feature of the Dholavira is that instead of two parts, it had three parts: citadel, middle town, and the lower town. So that is the first thing which you need to know. The next important thing which you need to know that every part was separated from each other with the help of a wall boundary. So there was a wall boundary across each part. And this wall was made up of burned bricks. Okay, so burned bricks, extensive use of burned bricks is yet another characteristic feature of the Harappan civilization. Okay, the next important outcomes of this Dholavira site is that archaeologists have discovered a big signboard. Okay, there is a big signboard that is discovered, and this signboard contains big signs of the Harappan script. So do remember this. This was a PYQ. Okay, so large letters of Harappan script, a big signboard with the letters of the Harappan civilization. It has been discovered from which site? From the site of Dholavira. The next important thing, they had an excellent water management system. They had a very well accomplished system for the irrigation, and archaeologists have discovered over here water reservoirs, water management system, and also they have discovered a large open area which was probably used for some public ceremonies. Okay, so these are the important highlights of the site of Dholavira which you need to remember from the preliminary perspective. Okay, so once again we'll just revise it. The other sites of the Harappan civilization had only two compartments, citadel and the lower town. But Dholavira is a unique site to have three compartments. Okay, that is the citadel, middle town, and the lower town. The next important thing, as I've mentioned, that archaeologists have discovered over here a large signboard containing Harappan script. The next important feature is exclusive water management system with a well channel, or you can say a well planned channel of water reservoir. And finally, you have large open area for the public ceremonies. Okay, coming towards the last site for the day, Chanhudaro, located in Sindh province of Pakistan. Chanhudaro is mainly known for the bead making factory. Okay, so in the ruins of Chanhudaro site, archaeologists have discovered bead maker shop or a factory. Many beads, bead making tools, finished beads, some broken beads have been discovered from the site of Chanhudaro. So in this manner we have covered all the important sites pertaining to the Harappan civilization. This session is very significant because whatever we have covered, everything has come in one or the other PYQs. Okay, so you need to remember all these sites in detail. That's it for the day. I hope this session was informative and indeed interesting. In the upcoming session, we are going to study about the features of the Harappan civilization. Features, we are going to understand important findings. Especially, we are going to focus on the town planning, architectural marvels of this civilization. Okay, so thank you so much for your time, for your attention, and I hope the journey of the discovery of Indus Valley Civilization was intelligible to you all. Okay, thank you so much and happy studying. That's it for the day. We'll meet shortly in the upcoming session. Thank you.